Hey guys, it's me, cyoubx, and this is the YanCheng Yan3. For those of you who aren't familiar, YanCheng is a new sub-company of Moyu, and this is their first 3x3, which I'm super excited about. Originally, I wanted to do an unboxing and first impressions, and I actually recorded everything live so that I could see how good the cube was and give you a genuine impression of the cube. The problem is, after doing about 300 solves on this puzzle, I realized that the first impressions really did not hold up at all. There are certain pros and cons of this cube that changed my impression of it between when I first opened it out of the box and now after doing about 300 solves. So out of the box, this cube was actually fantastic. The first thing I noticed was how well the stickers were placed on this puzzle. Everything was well fitted and the stickers are quite nice. If you watched my way long GTS review, I mentioned that the stickers were pretty poor quality and they started peeling instead of chipping. This is more similar to the older Moyu cubes where the stickers are a little bit thinner, but they're completely vinyl and there's no peeling issues that I've seen so far. The size is a little bit smaller than other 3x3s. I would say this is probably about 55 millimeters. Whereas other cubes are around 56.5 or 56 millimeters. So it's slightly smaller, but it's not super noticeable if you're used to a 56 millimeter cube. The weight of this is a little bit light compared to what I've been using, which is either the Volk M or the magnetic GTS. So the magnets really make the cube a lot heavier, and so unboxing this, I thought this cube was extremely light. And to complement the light weight of the cube, the turning out of the box was extremely light and airy. So right now I'm just going to let you hear how the cube sounded out of the box because it's one of the sexiest sounding cubes I think I've ever unboxed. Not only is the cube scratchy and very easy and smooth to turn, but the turning is very lightweight, meaning it doesn't really require a lot of force to make the sides move. The light turning of this puzzle out of the box is probably one of its best attributes, but it was accompanied by one of the worst things that I experienced, and that was the corner cutting. The corner cutting on this puzzle is not bad at all. It can corner cut 45 degrees out of the box, and it can reverse corner cut about half a cubie, so I would say this is pretty standard at this point. The problem with the corner cutting is that it requires a lot more force than it would normally to turn a side. And so in practice, you get these little hiccups because you're expecting the corner cutting to be just as light as regular turning, and it's not. And so when you do have to corner cut, you need to use more force that you're just not expecting to use. That being said, there was a very easy way to fix this, and that was with lube. Lubricant is absolutely needed for this puzzle. The silicone spray that comes with the puzzle out of the box is really good for the feel of the cube when you're turning single sides, but you just don't get good times on it because of the corner cutting. Lubricant helps this cube in two different ways. The first is it slows the cube down. This cube out of the box is a little bit fast. Personally, I like a fast cube, but I know for a lot of you it's just uncontrollable, and lubricant obviously really helps. Secondly, and probably more important, is that the lube actually slows the cube down, and you need to use more force to turn the sides. In addition, the corner cutting is actually a lot better now, so it can corner cut more than 45 degrees, and anything past that, it just reverse corner cuts. So those two things combined makes this cube a lot more fluid to use, because now when you have to corner cut after doing a turn or something else, it feels consistent. The amount of force you're using to cut the corners is about the same as it would be just to turn the side, and so you no longer get these hiccups. Other than that, unfortunately this cube is fairly generic and I'm not super impressed. The mechanism has been done many times before. It looks almost exactly the same as like a Meiying or a Guoguan or even a Volk 3. Obviously the dimensions are a little bit different and the corner stalks are different lengths, but if you look at the overarching mechanism, it really is the same among all of these cubes. But the problem with the Yan 3 is that it's a little bit boring. The Yuexiao, even with lube, has a very nice swishy sound, whereas that's completely diminished with the Yan 3. Meanwhile, the Volk is very smooth and it just feels like a very polished cube. The turning isn't as smooth as it could be, and it's not exactly crispy either. It just feels like a half-baked kind of puzzle, and it's not very satisfying to use. But I do think this cube could be useful for two different groups of people. So going back to the quirk of this cube, if you loosen the tensions a lot, the sides can be very fast, but then corner cutting is sort of an issue, and then you get these sort of catching issues with the corners and centerpieces. If you tighten the cube, then obviously corner cutting is not as good, but everything becomes a lot more stable. So potentially what you could do is add magnets to this cube, and it would actually be a pretty good magnetic cube, I think. The second group of people that I think this would be really good for would be those of you who just don't really want to buy a Volk, but you want a cube that's similar in performance. Performance-wise, I think this cube is basically the same as a Guoguan or a Volk. It's a little bit worse. There are some weird things with it, such as light catching that you don't get on the other puzzles as much, but it's also cheaper. At least on SpeedCubeShop, the Yan 3 is $16, while the Volk is $23, and I think that's priced pretty accurately. The Yan 3 is not a bad puzzle at all. In fact, if you get this, you're probably going to get the same times as what you would get on a Volk. The difference is that the feel is just not quite the same. This cube is very generic feeling, it's not satisfying to use, but performance-wise, it's fine. So overall, if you're in the market for a new 3x3 and you want to mess around with magnets, I think I would recommend the YanCheng Yan3. It seems like it has a lot of potential to be modded into a magnetic cube, but of course I don't know that because I didn't actually try it. That's just my guess. But overall, guys, this is a pretty average cube for a pretty average price. If you are interested in the YanCheng Yan3, the link is going to be in the description. Thanks to SpeedCubeShop for sponsoring this video, and thank you all for watching. Until next time, toodles.